Hello, good evening, and Happy New Year, you guys. Today it is January 1st, 2022. So, for this video today, I want to discuss the World Juniors and the Spengler Cup being canceled this year and share some thoughts on that. Hearing that both tournaments, especially the World Juniors, after it has already started being canceled, was highly unfortunate. And, I mean, yeah, it's hearing that the World Juniors got canceled on top of the Spengler Cup for the second year in a row. That has definitely been a tough pill to swallow. I'm not going to lie. It's been really unfortunate that the IIHF felt that it needed to be canceled. Now, you know, I mean, maybe I'm sure that they've got top medical people involved with these decisions. But at the same time, I have to be honest, I actually believe, especially considering the fact that the World Juniors were successfully played out and completed a year ago in Edmonton, successfully, with the United States winning the gold medal, in fact, why couldn't they have made it work this year? I mean, we've come a long ways in the past year when it comes to this pandemic. I mean, compared to a year ago, we now have vaccines for COVID-19. I mean, the overwhelming majority of Canadians have been vaccinated. I know a majority of the American population, a good majority, is now vaccinated for COVID. And, I'm just starting to wonder. I mean, I've actually been hearing that supposedly, thankfully, the Omicron variant is actually only causing rather mild symptoms in people. And I'm pretty sure, at least for the fully vaccinated and or those who have already had the virus in any of its variants before Omicron, that, if you've already had the virus or you're double vaccinated like myself, or you've had both the virus and 2 doses of vaccine, that, your symptoms, if you get Omicron, are supposedly rather mild, more like just a bad cold, basically, or a mild cold or whatever. So if the fully vaccinated part of the population are only experiencing rather mild symptoms, and we know that most professional athletes are fully vaccinated, in my opinion, I think that they could have pulled the World Juniors off. I actually believe that they could have pulled it off. And I think that maybe, if they delayed it by a few days, whatever, they could have made it work, in my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong, but from my observations, from what I've been hearing about this new variant severity, especially when we're talking about fully vaccinated people, I mean, did we really need to cancel the World Juniors? Did we really need to cancel the Spengler Cup in Davos, Switzerland? I'm sure that Switzerland's vax rate is very high too. Most European countries, I think their vax rates are quite high. But I haven't looked at the numbers to know for myself. But I would assume that with how long the vaccines have now been available for, I'm sure most people in most countries in Europe and North America are like North America, and have now had at least 1 dose of vaccine. I'm sure most people in Europe are now fully vaccinated overall. But, there is another thing I want to talk about, and something that I've actually found rather interesting. And I was watching a video from a channel called Black and White Sports, and supposedly the NFL has basically come out and said that we're only going to really, and now correct me if I'm wrong, but I've heard that the NFL is basically only going to start testing players now if they've actually got symptoms. That's a pretty significant statement, especially when we've got this new Omicron variant and it's as transmittable as it is. Sorry for that delay. I mean, I don't think that you can actually see what's on my TV from the reflection of the bar stool that I'm sitting on, but just in case YouTube wants to be anal about their copyrights or anything, I don't think they'd see anything, but I thought I'd turn off my TV just to be safe and avoid a headache. But, when I look at the peak physical condition, now also there was quite a bit of an uproar about, oh, well, you're not canceling the World Juniors, but you're canceling a women's tournament coming up soon. Well, the thing is, I would actually argue that both the men and the women participating in these events are probably all, if not the vast overwhelming majority, fully vaccinated, are all in excellent health, and if at least I hope so. And the thing is, if they're not experiencing major symptoms, I mean, obviously it depends on what the science says. I mean, we gotta, obviously if players are getting severe illness, then canceling was the right thing to do. But I've been hearing from even on the news and stuff that, if you get the Omicron variant and you're fully vaccinated, supposedly the symptoms are very, very mild. And, that's a good thing. But when I look at the peak physical shape that these young men that were supposed to play the World Juniors this year are in, and I look at the fact that I'm sure all of them, if not the overwhelming majority, are fully vaccinated, I honestly feel that this was a little bit of an overreaction. I've actually heard that supposedly there were only a few positive cases. There weren't that many positive cases overall. And the IIHF just decided, oh, we got to cancel this right now. And then on top of that, if they were so concerned about players coming down with the virus, why did they not do a bubble format like they did a year ago? They did, Edmonton did a great job. The IIHF and the city of Edmonton and the Edmonton organizers did such a great job with last year's World Juniors. But fast forward a year later, and they canceled. Well, supposedly one of the hotels that players were staying in was hosting a large wedding. I mean, if you're so concerned about any players testing positive, why are you having players staying in a hotel where there's going to be a big event, from what I've heard, full of people to possibly carry and mass spread this new variant? I mean, IIHF, what are you doing? I mean, that, maybe they should have just stuck with the bubble format. I would say that, if that's what they should have done. I mean, obviously we don't know too much about the new variant yet, but the good news is I've been actually hearing from numerous places that, hey, the symptoms are supposedly, thankfully, mild, which is, hopefully at some point this virus will stop being a killer, and hopefully we can start to at least see this pandemic become endemic, and we can see things go back to some kind of normal again. I mean, I'm as sick of this pandemic as I'm sure all of you are. And, I just, when I look at the bill of health of these athletes, I can't say it enough. I mean, you could have done a bubble format. They didn't do that this year. I mean, the majority of these athletes are fully vaccinated. Same with the National Hockey League too. I mean, if you look at it, I kind of wonder about what's been going on with the NHL too recently. I mean, if the athletes are fully vaccinated and they're not showing any severe illness, then I don't think there's anything to worry about. I mean, compared to a year ago when we didn't have vaccines and players were actually getting ill, very ill, then, that's different. It is different. I mean, maybe, am I wrong on this? Maybe I am. But from what I've been hearing, and especially looking at how people's symptoms are if they catch the virus and they're double vaccinated, I'm actually pretty optimistic when I can say that I honestly believe that with the vax rate, the success that the vaccines have been having in reducing the severity of COVID-19 if people get it, and when I also look at the peak level of physical health that these athletes, both the men and the women, are in my opinion, I believe that they could have pulled off the World Juniors and they didn't have to cancel. I actually believe they could have played the Spengler Cup too, in my opinion. And another thing that I want to mention as well is I was actually just watching the Winter Classic between Minnesota and St. Louis. There were tons of fans in that stadium. And the game that I turned off just now was the Canucks and the Seattle Kraken. They're playing in Seattle, and that crowd is full of people. Yet in Canada, you can't, in places like Toronto, I was watching the Leafs Senators game for a few minutes earlier, and they had no fans in the building. Like, well, what are we doing here? I mean, I apologize for getting political here, guys, but Seattle, Washington State is a very liberal-minded, progressive state when it comes to their political views, and they've had more of the liberal mindset on restrictions when it comes to handling COVID-19. Yet here they are playing in front of a full capacity crowd right now at Climate Pledge Arena, where the Seattle Kraken are playing the Vancouver Canucks right now as I'm filming this. Yet, the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Ottawa Senators are playing in front of no fans. So, I mean, is Canada being overreacting, or is the United States not doing enough? I wonder. But, when I hear about the severity of the symptoms of this new variant, and when I see that how many people, especially amongst professional athletes in peak physical health, are fully vaccinated against this virus, when I look at the science and the success of the vaccines, why are we canceling events? I mean, we're not in 2020 anymore. I mean, we're not in 2021 anymore either. But what I'm saying is, compared to 2020, we now have a vaccine that has been thankfully proven to be reducing the ability for the virus to spread. It has also been reducing the severity of COVID-19 if you get it. And yet we're now canceling events with professional athletes. The World Juniors started with minimal capacity for their games, yet I'm watching hockey games in the United States tonight that are being played in front of full crowds or with thousands of people. I'm pretty sure Minnesota had a full crowd or at least half capacity, which is still tens of thousands of people. But I mean, I'm watching the Kraken game right now and it's played in front of a full house, basically. I mean, those seats all look full. I don't see any distance, half capacity in Seattle right now. So what is it? Is the American cities, is the United States not doing enough, or is Canada overreacting? I mean, times have thankfully changed for the better. I mean, what is it? I mean, when I look at, thankfully, what's been going on, where the people that are getting vaccinated are having very minimal symptoms if they catch COVID. This new variant's rather mild if you're fully vaccinated at least, or you've already had the virus. I'm not sure how it affects the unvaccinated. I haven't heard much about that yet. Hopefully it's mild for them too. And what gives? I honestly believe we're getting to a point where we have to start learning to live with this virus. I mean, most people have gone out of their way to get vaccinated. And thankfully, what's it going to take? Thankfully, the amount of severe COVID symptoms in healthy people has gone down, which is good. Or I worded that a little wrong, but what I meant to say is, thankfully, the amount of severe COVID cases that are forcing people to end up in hospital has gone down a fair bit, which is good. And hopefully it keeps going that way. But I don't know. I honestly believe that, considering when you look at different factors like the vax rate, the success of the vaccines, that have been having in reducing the severity of COVID, when you look at it and you look at the players being in peak physical condition, I honestly believe that they could have pulled it off, especially when I'm watching a Kraken Canucks game in Seattle where they're playing in front of a full crowd. I mean, what gives? I mean, am I wrong in thinking that they could have pulled it off? Am I misinformed? I mean, what do you think? What do you think about what I've got to say in this video? I'd love to hear your comments, but, you know, I honestly believe that, you know, when the NFL is coming out and basically saying that, hey, we're only going to test players if they're showing symptoms, and we've been hearing that, thankfully, this variant is a lot more mild, thankfully, at least for the fully vaxxed. Hopefully it's mild for everybody. But, you know, when I hear all that, it makes me wonder. I honestly believe that they could have either they could have done a way better job of doing a bubble tournament like they did last year for the World Juniors, or B, they could have played on if players are not showing any major symptoms. I mean, obviously, if people are showing major illness, I mean, Jesus Christ, yeah, shut the damn thing down. But were they showing major illness? Am I wrong in saying that? I totally am on board for safety. And you know, if they felt that people's lives were in absolute danger, then okay. But when I look at everything that I've been seeing, everything I've been hearing, I got to be honest. I think they could have pulled this off. But anyway, do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? I want to hear people's thoughts on this, because I think these athletes are healthy, and if they're vaxxed, I don't see why, if this new variant's proving to be more mild by the sounds of things, why they couldn't have played this on. But do you agree with me? Do you think I'm absolutely wrong? I'd love to hear your comments down below. But yeah, it's been on my mind lately. I wanted to make a video about it. I know I've been talking a lot longer than I probably needed to, but I just wanted to get my 2 cents out there, because I'm getting tired of hearing one thing after another. Like, what is it? Is it bad? Is it mild? Is it severe? What is it? I don't know. But anyway, guys, take care. Bye for now.